We're trying with our ring. Well, I'm trying with my ring light for the first time. So I feel fancy. I feel professional. Yeah. Have you used it before?
Can you see London?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I decided to put it in here because it's really big and there's only so many walls that it can fit on. It was in my kitchen. It
was just like a right side up keyboard in the background too.
It was like really dorky. Now it's even more dorky.
I can see the mirror behind you, by the way.
Yeah.
Just a heads up. But I can't see the mirror in the mirror because it's that round mirror on the opposite wall that I could see your shower in before. So I can't see
my shower?
Yes, I think.
No, my shower is right here on the other side of this wall.
Okay. But it looked like the shower before.
Oh.
Yes.
I think it should be.
Yeah, I can't see that tiny mirror. That was the one that I was like, I'm seeing somebody who is trying not to be seen.
Oh yeah, it's fine. I think it'll be okay.
Man.
I love the cat bombs. Like I'm so for it. Like I really like Seymour in the first one. That was cute.
Come here. Come back. Come here. Come here.
He's playing hard to get.
No, come back. Don't sit next to the laptop. Sit next to me. This is so unfair.
Join the room.
The club.
He's gonna bite me. Ow! Just let me love you.
This is what happens when you adopt feral cats.
Oh, my heart.
Oh no.
I can't believe I can't force him to love me.
Well, he also has anxiety, so you don't really want to.
I guess.
Okay. I'm going to let you start it, Melissa.
All right. Welcome back to In Bed with Books. My name is Melissa.
And I'm Bethany. I wasn't prepared. Fine.
It's fine, yeah. This week we'll be talking about the third book in the Darker Shades of Magic trilogy, A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. And once again, we have an amazing guest.
Taylin.
Your nerdy roommate. Hello, everyone. This is Taylin Nelson, shockingly on again for the third time to finish out this series by V.E. Schwab.
We can't get rid of her.
No.
We've tried.
She's like a bad kind of rash that I love. I love when it's happening. And after
she's talking about herself, by the way.
Obviously.
Just in the third person.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess we can start this one the way we started the last two, which is
first thoughts.
Let's talk about Kell and Lila. Take it away.
First thoughts. So I didn't speed read this one.
Ooh.
I was very invested. It was because it started off with like a lot of action, and then it just kept going, and then it was, I don't know, there was so much going on, and I really liked that you got back. What's the word I'm trying to backstory?
Yes.
Like you had that bold section, those bold sections that like went back in time, and you got to like know everyone a little bit better and like their motivations and why they are the way that they are. And yeah, I think that was like really cool. And then you had just a lot of it felt like towards like the middle of the book, then you had like a gang, like everyone was together. Yeah. We're all like working towards the same goal kind of thing, which was kind of nice.
I definitely agree that with all of what you said, but specifically with the whole, there was so much action happening. Like it definitely delivered where book 2 felt kind of stagnant because the action was also constantly pushing the plot forward. Even when it felt like things were kind of standing out, because she does do the, I think we've kind of talked about it being like a cinematic structure where she'll have like little snippets, like each chapter is divided into those little sections from each point of view. And all of those were connected, I think, more thoroughly in this book than they had been previously. Not like she'd done a bad job in the past, but it was all pushing it forward. It felt more plot driven than it has previously.
While also being able to touch on the characters, because it was like,
yes,
everyone was kind of coming to the fore with like who they were. Hello, son. It'll pass. It'll just be a while. What about you, Taylin? I know it's been a while since you read it.
Oh, yeah. No, I totally agree with you guys. I think this is the most action-packed book out of the three. I think my heart lies with the first one. But I think that this one I could see becoming a movie really easily. Because I think there was so many scenes that just like really grabbed hold of my imagination. I could really see like it being so great on the big screen. And I, as you say, Melissa, I think like this kind of, the plot is really like, it's pushing everything forward now, finally. So even though we've had like all of these really great moments with the characters in the second book, kind of like learning about, you know, their kind of struggles and whatnot, like, I feel like finally it's put to use maybe a bit more in this book than in the second book.
Like with like you said, Bethany, there's those bold flashback sections. Those kind of played two roles, because on the one hand, we got to see more of like Holland's past. We got to see some fill-in from the 4 months between books 1 and book 2, but they were still really important to those sections of the book. Especially with like the background on Holland. Do you need to close your blinds?
No. It's like working its way over.
Okay. Because in the past, Holland's been this like pitied villain, not so much. Like I was really into him, but I also recognized that he, for the most part, was a villain in the first 2 books. And so then seeing his backstory, and you get that kind of validation on like, yes, it explicitly was not the kind of person that Holland was when he was doing those things in book 1. And then even kind of in book 2, like he wasn't coming from a place of evil. He was coming from a place of like a lifetime of trauma. And so I like that we had that validating and then also still pushing the plot forward, because we needed to see that as readers also to accept when Lila feels shame for calling him out. Otherwise it just wouldn't have been believable.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the first time you really see that emotion from her too.
Yes.
For being like a thief and kind of touting that.
Yeah.
Like line. It was with Holland, because she just downright hates him for like most of the series. Like, yeah, absolutely. And then we get the backstory, and then she gets the interaction with him where she can feel that there's something more, and there's something more going on like with him. I really loved his I loved his like silent, like, how would you describe him? He was like
sexy.
I think so. You guys made fun of me last episode.
No.
You guys made fun of me last episode.
I would never make fun of you for liking Holland. Love like
because I was like, "Ooh, he's kind of sexy," and you were like, "What?"
She said what? I was
like,
I said
agree.
What?
He's not flamboyant enough for Taylin.
So true. 100%. He doesn't have a cool coat. He's not melancholic, but like
he's
privileged.
Just depressed. Like the difference between like melancholy.
He's like nihilistic.
Yeah.
He's like he's resolved.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like you said, we should start with Kell and Lila, but like this book is Holland. This book is, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like we should. He's really the kind of standout character, I think, you know.
He's kind of the hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he saves them all. You know, he's
and it doesn't necessarily redeem him, which I like.
Yeah.
He still gets a just ending. It just isn't quite as painful as maybe some people had wished it would be.
Yeah.
It's only slightly gritty. It's like gritty Disney Plus.
Yeah, exactly. I had a really hard time with the end of this book. I finished it last night, like late last night, again, as is typical of me now. And I was like sad afterwards, because you get like the normal sad when you finish a book, or like finish a series, actually, where you're like, oh, that's done. What do I do now?
Yeah.
Like, what's my
gonna
personality
hold this
at
to
this
my
point?
heart and like
exactly. And then like that last chapter is called Anash, which is like the goodbye. The last word is Anash again. What is it? Until we meet again, I think is
until next
what the phrase means.
Something.
And so that was all really sad. And then you've got the hero of the story, Holland. His story ends with he takes his last breath, and what was it like? And the world breathed in.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, that's so sad. I finished the book, and then I just laid in bed and like stared at the ceiling for 20 minutes.
And the world breathed.
I was so sad. And I'm not in any way saying that I didn't like the book, because I thought this was a really, really strong ending and strong story. Mm-hmm. And I think that the mood of the ending really reflected just how heavy this book was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't make it any easier to deal with, though.
I actually cried a little bit.
Same.
And not at that part, but when Maxim walked out. That was really hard. And he was just like, a king needs to be with his people. And I was like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Rhea's just like screaming.
Yeah.
Like, I really liked Maxim in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was kind of nice to see the king and the queen like 3-dimensionally, you know?
Absolutely.
Fully agreed. Because we don't really get their points of view.
They got fleshed out this book.
Yeah. And so you actually, like, she 100% does it so that we feel bad when they die, and it works. I'm not going to fault her for that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. There's so much to cover.
Now that we've talked about the ending.
Yeah, exactly. Let's jump back to literally anything else but Holland dying, please. Okay. So Kell giving up the paper that Maris had given him. Mm-hmm. How stupid can you be?
I thought they were going to address that. I had a moment so he had just done that, and then they went, or no, it was when he got the paper, because they kind of got flipped back and forth between like the palace and like the gang. And he had gotten the paper, and Maris was like, you can, this is how you can find out or whatever. And then the next chapter was like on the queen. And I was like, oh, they're going to know something. And then I was disappointed. So I thought she was going to like answer the question, at least for us. And maybe Kell wouldn't know. And then maybe it would like come up later, but it didn't.
No.
Yeah. I kind of felt that way about like, maybe, I don't know, some of the characters like Ned, like I wish that we got to see more of action happen with him, and maybe even like see him get to use power.
Yeah.
Like it would have been nice to kind of see him. I mean, if we're going to keep it in the gritty Disney realm, why not give Ned some power, and maybe like he could bring power back to Grey London or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully that happens.
Right?
Still writing.
Now that we've got the new series, the new
I
trilogy,
feel
right?
like this is a trilogy, but I think she was like, oh, I want to do more. Like,
no, I think
with those characters
the new
too.
Series is going to be a trilogy, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah. So I think it would be. I think she left a lot of like Easter eggs that like could be.
She did. On the note of kind of like tertiary characters that we lost, or that like narratively we didn't get to see enough of. Calla, I was really, really sad that we didn't get to see more from her, because she really built her up. Mm-hmm. I feel like as like going to be this kind of like multi-purpose, but in the end, she was just kind of this really sweet lady who just makes some clothes and then dies so that Lila can feel grief.
Yeah, that kind of sucked.
Yeah, it did. And it's not that I'm angry about that being the purpose. It's more that I'm angry that there wasn't further purpose. Like, she still could have done, like, she could have served that purpose while also
having a greater purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like, we could have added more to her character.
Yeah, because I think her character is so likable, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and we have her from the beginning, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think her just dying like that, it did suck. It felt like, okay, so who else are you going to take away, you know?
Yeah. So then we've got Lenos and Hofstra that come out pretty soon after that.
Just a book of dying.
Just like turn
all the
babies.
Knife,
just twist
all the babies.
I kind of knew Lenos was going to die. I had a feeling.
Yeah. Because he's so sweet.
Because then she has to start the chapter with like death at sea or something. And I'm like, okay.
So, you know,
so, and you just ended on Lenos. Like, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, and then Hofstra, baby Hofstra.
I think they kill off Hofstra because Lenos's Lenos's death was like almost expected. And so we're like, oh, I saw that one coming, and then just like smash.
Hofstra was like
here's another one.
Yeah, exactly,
well, and exactly. I was kind of hoping Hofstra was going to be like the new Master Tyrion, because I thought he died.
That was rough. I mean, especially because
I was kind of expecting, him
Master Tyrion to die. A bigger purpose. Again, like hoping for characters to have bigger purpose and just kind of snatching that away really viciously.
Yeah, especially because of how much we get to know them.
Yeah.
So
I do think
a little too realistic.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Too much reality, Schwab.
You know?
Yes. If I wanted reality, I wouldn't be reading this.
Yeah. I feel like she did try to like explain it at the end with like the little like plant and just how some deaths are supposed to like because the plant wasn't going to sprout again, and then Master Tyrion was like, it's supposed to like feed the soil for more things to grow, and so then you're like, oh, okay, like that's what Hofstra's purpose was, but it was just kind of like
it also
she just kind of explained it away.
Yeah, so and there's going to be a baby Hofstra in the new series.
Yeah, there better fucking be. But it feels like that explanation is also like, okay, but why did Hofstra have to be something tilling the soil? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
because like it's kind of like he's like the support for like the main group.
Yeah.
And I think he did save Kell's life.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, I guess like that was his purpose.
That sucks.
Yeah, it does.
And that's kind of what you get though with like side characters that you can't really like give their own like book, you know?
Especially like sorry, but Taylin, because I know you haven't read Serpent and Dove, but like Ansel's purpose was similar, where it's like he's so gentle and you love him so much because he's this puppy dog who only wants everyone to be okay and only wants everyone to be safe, and he wants his friends to be happy. And then what happens with people like that is that they're willing to sacrifice themselves to make sure that their friends are happy. Not that Hansel necessarily sacrificed himself, but he kind of did. He put himself in harm's way to make sure that like Lou was okay, right? And the same with Hofstra, because Hofstra jumped in front of that knife without a second thought.
Well, and that was his duty as a guard.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also like his person, like that's also what like who he was.
Yeah.
Yes.
It wasn't just his duty.
Guards might have tried with a sword to like flick it or with magic to do something, but like Hofstra just threw his own body in the way. That was like his duty was to protect Kell, but then it was Hofstra's choice to use his own body to do so. So
just made it even worse.
That didn't make me hate anything.
That didn't make me cry.
Yeah, no. I was fine. I was totally fine. You cried.
But in the kind of the same scene, you have Lila, who Oh, what did she do? Oh, she made something. She used the Antari command to grow.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Which she learned the night before from Kell, and she remembered.
And
I remembered.
Very, hands-on lesson.
Mouths on.
Say. Yeah.
What was growing?
I don't.
She used it on the boat.
What was growing?
She used it on the boat.
She says innocently.
I did not have time to correct like the American education system, sex ed.
Oh man, it's a little too late. I'm engaged.
That's fair.
It's too late for me.
Yes, it's too late for her. But yeah, so she used it on the boat to catch Jasta.
Mm-hmm.
Jasta.
Yeah, she makes the like boards and like stuff like
the same way that
her
Kell had done to her in book 1.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
In the bedroom.
Again, what's growing?
Yeah, their love for each other.
Definitely.
Yes.
I mean, their love for each other did grow on that boat.
Yes, it did.
I mean, I'm just gonna say it.
I mean, it's an innuendo, but it's also a fact.
A lot of things grew.
A lot of things did grow that day. Yes.
I told you the sun would go away.
You. What was your point, Melissa?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I'm trying to find it. I don't know where it went.
Immediately after Hostra died, I think you were going to talk about something.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I interrupted you.
Maybe. I think I was just getting to the boat scene in general.
Okay.
Because that's where we see like them accept Holland.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because we, like you said, like we get the benefit of the flashbacks. They just know it's there. They start to kind of see his character for what it is. But more than once during that boat trip, he proves to them that he's like their brother. Like
it's kind of like, oh, sorry.
But like, because there's so few of them, they're like bonded almost by the fact that they're all Antari, by the fact that like, they're hunted and ostracized for this trait. And so I think Lila started to see that more. Like how that affected him much differently than it affected Kell.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Taylin?
Oh, I was just going to say, kind of reminded me of, this is just like probably a silly reference, but it reminded me, I mean, I don't think Melissa will think it is, but it kind of reminded me of like Zuko in Avatar: The Last Airbender, like sort of this outcast, like he's definitely the underdog, you know, he's the anti-hero. And
I thought that, yeah.
We didn't like him, you know, throughout all these books because we didn't understand him until finally when we get to know more about him, we see that like, you know, he is coming from this good place. Mm-hmm. But it's just had a lot stacked against him, and he just wants to be a part of the group, you know?
Yeah.
To help them, you know?
Yeah. I really felt like
seen the wrong.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I really feel like we got a lot of more backstory from him, and it just seemed like his whole life he was wanted because he was magical, and not because of who he is, but what he was, and that was like kind of a big theme in the book.
Yeah.
And this was, it didn't really seem like he was trying, to me, it didn't really seem like he was trying to like get in with the group. I think he was just, it kind of unfolded in the way that he's like, no, you need me because I want the same thing as you. And he didn't offer that as like upfront. I guess what I'm trying to say is like, he's not like pleading for it.
Yeah.
No.
He definitely doesn't feel like they'll listen to him anyways. And so then when they finally do concede, because he uses what he knows and who he is, not like, I guess, does that make sense?
I think that's why we respect him so much more, though, you know?
Yeah.
Because he's not like pleading with them. He's just, you know,
like he knows he's not going to convince them.
Exactly.
He has to prove himself. And so then when
And
Lila and Kell finally see that, oh, like he knows more than we do. Oh, you know, there's more to him than just someone who, you know, and then I think it was Kell was kind of the door into it last book, was that Kell realized that he also would sacrifice a lot for his London. And that was what Holland did. And so this was kind of the book where Lila, I think, had more of an opportunity to really see what Holland was like, wants. And that was kind of seen more clearly.
I would agree with that. Like, initially, Holland's goal isn't to be their friend.
Yeah.
His goal is to defeat Oseron because he can see his fault. At the very, very beginning of the book, you can see him kind of like when he's in the prison. He goes to some darkish places because Kell, one of the times that Kell goes to talk to him, he kind of has this line where he essentially says that it's worth it to see their London fall. It's worth like everything that he did. And like, then eventually I think he realizes just how bad the situation is. Like whatever motive for revenge he has, for like how jealous he is of how prosperous Red London has gotten, it's not worth what Oseron's going to do. So I think at first he's not trying to be friends. He's just trying to make sure that they can properly take down this beast. What do they call it? An Osik?
Osak or something.
Oshak. the term for like the magic thing.
I think it's OOSAC.
Okay. Osik. But as they start to see more of that side of him, he, for the first time in many years, opens himself up as well.
Yeah.
And so I don't think he initially wanted to be friends, but I think he, like Kell and Lila, don't really give him a choice.
Yeah.
Because they're all butting heads.
Yeah,
they're all navigating that together.
I think Holland has been betrayed so many times. Like his, I think it's Talia. Like that was so sad. And like he's just given up a lot on relationships. And so the only thing he can fight for is his London. Yeah. Because he knows that he is inextricably tied to it because of being an Antari. And so he knows that that's something that he does have like value in. And I think being essentially hunted his whole life for being magical, being Antari. That's not his first inclination, right? Mm-hmm. Is to like forge relationships.
Yeah. No, exactly.
And so you can definitely, because I agree, you can definitely see him kind of melting towards the end. And then you kind of hope that he kind of sticks around and is kind of their grandpa, but like,
especially because they're all Antari, you know, like, like it's
really he has a lot to teach them.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah. I think it was really sad at the very end when he's having those dreams and he still like longs for his brother and for Talia, even though they betrayed him, because as much as he like shits on Lila and Kell for being romantics, he is too. He's just a romantic that's been punched in the face too many times, unfortunately. So
it's like even if the only relationships you've ever had have been like deceit and betrayal, like you still look for that.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's what love is too, unfortunately. And so it makes sense that he would still kind of cling to those relationships a little bit.
And then why he wants to go to the Silverwood at the very end before he dies, so he can die there with them, essentially.
Because that's where magic died.
Yeah, that's where they think. That's where the legend ended. Yeah.
And then breathed again.
And then it breathes again. It was like a tragic and happy line because he stops breathing in the world. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So bittersweet. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Break.
Good,
real quick.
Good break time.
Just do it.
Okay. 10 minutes because I got to get banana bread out of the oven.
I want some.
Me too.
Well, you can,
unfortunately. I'll make you some the next time, like when I go see you.
Yes. Better.
I got a good.
You got a good.
Yeah. Okay, so I feel like we've fully gotten my beef out about Holland. Now that we spent probably about 30 minutes talking about him on and off, kind of throughout the entire beginning here, and I could 100% talk about him for another 4 or 5 hours.
Same.
Holland
Yes.
fan.
Yes. But I do think we need to talk about Kell and Lila.
We do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because their relationship reached new heights in this book.
Oh, I'm interested to hear.
Why don't you take us through it, Melissa?
Should I just jump to it, or do we want me to do a little bit of foreplay here?
That might be too sexy.
Okay, so I do want to start out
too
with the
sexy.
fact that Lila explicitly says she loves Kell. She doesn't say it to him, but she says it to herself in one of her chapters. And I love, because she doesn't stop to think about it. She doesn't soliloquize it. She just says it as like part of her thinking during something. I wish I knew where it was. And then she moves on.
It's kind of in passing.
Because she knows that she loves Kell. She doesn't need to dwell on it. She just feels it and she accepts that.
Yeah.
It is nice that it's something that we don't have to like have some kind of big moment about. It's nice that she like trusts in it that much. Like she trusts in their love so much. Like she knows the rightness of it, that it doesn't need explanation. I think that's actually a really great point.
Yeah.
That is a good point. And I think like I love that she doesn't sacrifice who she is about like being free. Like a lot, I think someone breaches it in a conversation where they're like, oh, like you can't, like if you belong, I think it's probably Alucard. If you belong to people, then you're like not like, cause she is so used to walking away, right? She's so used to leaving. That's kind of her theme. And so that rather than being like a fear of intimacy, it's more of just like, it's more of a point of freedom, which I really liked because, you know, it could have gone a different way where she's just the kind of character that can't like stick with anyone, but really it's just more about like the right one. And then she finds the right one and thank God they're willing to go with her. Right. Like,
well, that's what Kell loves about her. And he's not being suppressive either. He's not trying to quell that. Because a lot of times when you see that kind of like dynamic in a relationship in books, like they can't work out because he wants to hold on to her and she wants to be free or vice versa. But he recognizes that he loves that specific part about her and he doesn't want it to go away. He doesn't want to have to control it. He just wants to be there for the ride.
He wants to be with her. And it's kind of like, we've kind of talked about how Kell's the damsel. Kell's kind of the girl a bit. Like and that's kind of why I like him. I'm just like, oh, he's just, you know, he just really loves her. Like he is going to go with her. Yeah. Because it's kind of like, you know, Jane Austen when they're like, oh, I have to choose, like, you have to just choose your husband. Like, which road do you want to go down? And he's like, he doesn't really have another choice. You know, like Jane Austen, they don't really have another choice. Like, and he's just kind of like, he's just like, I go where you go. Like,
love that.
I also like that because he's the responsible one. Mm-hmm. And you know, like, if like if it was gender bent a little bit, it would still make 100% sense. You could just change their genders. The book would make complete sense still. And I think I would have liked Kell more because there's sometimes that I'm like, Kell, like, stop mansplaining. But like, even though he's justified, because this is his world, he's been practicing this magic his entire life, but he's the most responsible one at the end of the day too. And so she almost needs him there so that she doesn't get herself killed.
Yeah, well, and I thought you were going to go a different way with that, where you were like what was it? What were you saying? Like, I'm sorry.
You're good.
It was just like left
About
my brain.
mansplaining.
Well, it was like, he was going to, like keep her out of trouble and stuff, or like he's the responsible one.
Yes, exactly.
And then I was just like, oh gosh, what heights can we go? I was just like, like I kind of wanted to see that fleshed out more, and I hope we do.
I hope we do.
I do like though how like I think Lila like as we were saying, she fully embraces I think caring in this kind of freeing way where it's like I think there's this moment in the book where she says like caring is like a thing with claws. You just have to like sink it in and just like hold on for dear life and just kind of accept it, you know, like write it out and go with it and not so much question it and just like accept it as something that's like kind of adventurous, you know, and like in line with like the things that she loves.
So yes, I recently saw a tweet that V. Schwab had put out in response, like people ask about how she writes her characters. Mm-hmm. And what she essentially said is that she'll start with like a mantra for them. So what is their like driving force? What's their one goal? And then that creates the mantra. And then the goal through the series is to break that. Cool. So going back to what you just said, Taylin, it's funny because when it first starts, her whole mentality is that you can't care because if you care, people leave you, people die. There is no point because it always ends up in hurt. It's always a knife. But then her tone changes by the end. Yeah. Once she actually has something to fight for. Because I think one of you guys had mentioned like Alucard and her having this conversation where like Alucard basically tells her like, if you keep running, what is the point of fighting? Like if you keep running and it doesn't hurt, then you're not running from anything, actually. You haven't loved hard enough. You haven't cared about anything hard enough for it to actually be running from something. Which makes me feel like she was never running from anything. She was just running towards Kell.
That's what I'm saying.
Stop.
That's exactly it.
Yes.
Because I was like so happy that Alucard got proved wrong.
Yes.
Because I was like, I don't like it never really happened. Like she never was like, oh, I like have to accept Kell. Like you said, Taylin, earlier, it just happens. Yeah. Like it's part of it. It's part of being free. She made the free choice of choosing Kell, and that was part of her plan. Like
wow. Suddenly this is like a romance.
It is a romance.
Yeah.
But now it's really feeling like something really sweet.
Well, I mean, we kind of have had that conversation. Yes. We've had that conversation about like fate within the story.
Yeah, definitely.
Fate and destiny, because we've got these fixed points across space and across time and everything. Like Kell and her were fated to meet. One of his last thoughts is like, what would have happened if she hadn't picked my pocket in Grey London? If she hadn't blackmailed me into going on an adventure? And then she like throws a knife between his legs.
Aren't we all just looking for someone to blackmail us into an adventure? I mean,
yeah. I mean, I'd blackmail somebody else into adventure. I don't go on adventures at the moment. But yeah, like they were fated to be together.
It's really
sweet. So the sex then?
Yeah, the sex scene. I mean,
Bethany?
Just hoping and praying, you know, all through book 1 and book 2. Sorry, Bethany.
Yes. No, you're good. Go ahead.
I don't know. I didn't know I had something to say. What did I message you? Anyways, it's fine.
No, it's do you want me to just keep talking? I'm happy to just keep talking.
Go, keep talking.
Okay. I like that it wasn't as explicit as I think Bethany and I were hoping for.
Really? What a surprise. I'm shocked.
Only because it kept it in line still with like that 18th century style. Like we've talked about it being kind of like they're courting. It feels very romantic era kind of Jane Austen-y.
Yeah.
And if it had been more explicit, it would have just felt
dirty.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And it does, I think it gets the verbiage gets a little bit more explicit than maybe some of the other books that we've read, but the actual content itself isn't quite as bad. And I mean, it stops it before we get to the actual sex. We just get some of the oral play.
I liked that Kell was in charge a bit.
Yes. Same.
Love that.
Same.
Very into that.
Uh-huh.
And then Alucard
until he wasn't.
Walks in.
Yes, just
and is like,
wet.
Stop fucking with the ship. And he's like sopping wet. Oh my god. I liked that because
oh
no, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go for it.
I liked that because at the beginning it was like, oh, I texted you about this when I read this. I was like, fuck, because he said, Kell said to Lila, like, your eye or something. And she was just like, you never noticed. And he's like, I never noticed that. And she's like, Alucard did.
Yeah.
And it was like, fuck, Lila, dude. Yeah.
Like those are fighting words.
Yeah.
Like fighting words.
Yeah. And so I think that kind of put Alucard there, that he was like a contender, right? For Lila.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But and obviously, with the whole fate thing, I mean, with their in the second book, with their like kiss and like all of the magic they could feel, like, I feel like I love that was like visually expressed with like the boat literally rocking back and forth, like their power, like them fucking was so powerful magically that like the ocean was shaking. Like
she describes it. So when she's peeking, her whole body trembled with the power.
Wow.
So she describes what they're doing. They aren't even actually having sex yet. They're just kind of getting into it. And she describes it as like feeling like power.
Yeah. I want magic.
Like that is so raw. I don't want to imagine. I don't need to go there.
I want magic.
Orgasm.
I want some.
Exactly. And I mean, we know that Alucard's not a contender. We know that he is so desperately in love with Rhys still.
Yeah. Of course.
But Lila fully knew what she was doing when she said that to Kell. And after that point, I think is when Kell starts to get a little bit more insistent on trying to...
Forthright.
Yeah. Forthright with his courting.
Yeah, I was like, the book came alive when it was all about him grabbing her face and looking intently in her eyes and just like the whispers, like all of that was like happening hard, like at the beginning.
Yeah.
And Kell was doing it. And so I also like too that later in the book, he doesn't get jealous of Alucard because Lila and Alucard are still pretty close. Like they still have like a close relationship, which I want to talk about in a minute. Don't let me forget. But like they have like intimate moments as well. And Kell doesn't seem perturbed by that, which I appreciate. Because I don't think jealousy is very cute.
He's a true gentleman.
He is. He's a true gentleman. And he knows where he stands with Lila.
Yeah. He trusts her. Once he knows. Once it's clear to him, then that dissipates.
Once they were literally rocked the boat.
Yes.
Made the phrase a reality.
Yes.
And sorry, just to kind of bounce off that for a second. When she saves him at the very beginning, there's like, so the very beginning, it's just after they've had that makeout session at the ball, right? And they've argued, he ran off and all of that. The first thing he does is grab her and just make out with her once he's like conscious, still in White London. And so at that point, that's when you know that like things have taken a turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this when he has like broken hands, literally?
Yeah. So this is like she's broken that collar off of him.
Yeah.
And
he's like slipping in his own blood.
And they're all slipping, and it's just like all over their face, and he's just like
the kiss is like described as being laced with blood and panic.
Yeah.
So like it's just like a desperation kiss, and he's just so happy to see her. So
yes. Well,
but you had
on Lila and Alucard.
Yes.
So, yeah, you kind of were like, ooh, is she going to have like the last book? You were kind of like, ooh, maybe she'll like have a fling. We were kind of thinking maybe she would with Alucard. We knew she was going to end up with Kell.
Yes.
But we didn't know Alucard's like whole history with Ree. But there is like there is that moment where she's like in the second book, the last book, where she's like imitating Alucard, like his like stance and stuff. I was like, I didn't get to talk about this because I think it was just so funny how she just wants to be a captain. Like she just wants to be him. And I think that's kind of what really turned her on about him. Wasn't so much of who he was, but what he was and what she wanted to be. That was like, she wanted to kind of have that freedom. And so this book, I think it expresses it pretty well because she ends up being Captain Bard.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other instances when like you get the flashbacks of him teaching her magic. You also just get a lot of her growing into herself as like a person, and Alucard is always right there next to her doing it with like not like helping her. So it's like
supporting her.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I liked about their relationship was because it wasn't so much, it doesn't have to be romantic. Like it didn't need to be Kell that helped her, mentored her, I should say.
Yeah.
And Alucard was definitely that role.
I love like how platonically in love with each other they are, because like their chemistry is very obviously there, and that's why I think everyone will read this and they're like, "Oh, Lila and Alucard," and like I support that ship, but like at a very base level, they are just very good friends, and I love that. I love that she found that immediately after leaving Kell. Because they're like, even their I love yous to each other, like their friend I love yous are I should have killed you when I had the chance, or and then what is I should have tossed you in the ocean. Like
yes.
They're just so supportive of who they are, like with each other.
And they're like, the beginning of their relationship was more about like keeping their guard up, not sharing their secrets enough. And then they get to a point where like they don't, like you can't even do that. I even like made a note in the book where like Lila it was at the beginning of the book where she's starting to have to share her secrets in order to kind of navigate things. And it was around the same time that she like enters London and starts growing her power, right? And because secrets are power. And she exchanges that for real power. So now she doesn't really need to like keep secrets. And I do think that like Alucard kind of, you know, once they kind of they're all part of this gang, right? Like she knows his love history with Ree. And he knows her like way more than she realizes he does.
Yeah. Well, I think in like the 4 months when they were a crew together, they learned to like love each other as they were in the present, which I think was really important for both of them because she's trying to learn who she is now in this new London and with magic. And he's still, as we learn later, like in this last book, he's still recovering from like the hate crime that his father and his brother did on him. And then how that's led to here and how much he still like misses Ree and who is he now, kind of because he's from a wealthy family. And then in the quest going to Maris for the inheritor, they don't have a choice. Just by the chance of what they're doing, a lot of their secrets come out. Because there's this point when Alucard even says, I almost gave her a secret for free. And it's like, well, of course, because you're friends now. You've been doing it anyway. You just haven't realized you were doing it.
Yeah.
And so that also slowly breaking down
like,
was
they
nice
match
to see.
each other.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Like she follows him to his like manor or whatever and learns all about his family. Like,
and he knows.
He's just like, of course, like, okay. So like they definitely matched each other in that way.
Mm-hmm.
they're equals in a lot of ways, I think, but like maybe from different backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because she was a street rat, and he was rejected by his family for being gay.
Yeah.
Well, bisexual, I'm assuming, but gay relations.
Yeah.
But I think that's why there's like this really great tension, because they come from two different worlds, but they're so similar, and they don't really even see how similar they are. They're just like doing this kind of tete-a-tete with their like secrets. And like, as you say, Melissa, eventually it's
he was from one of the higher families, one of the more royal families. And so he was coming from a lot weaker of a position, and Ree didn't see that at first. And so I love that he takes power at the very end too.
with like the death of the king and queen and him literally dying like twice. Either, but he's like this like ghost,
surreal,
like ghost knight figure that is like going out and like helping the people. Like I loved that he wasn't afraid to go out there and help the people. And I know it's because like he like did he know that he was kind of like immune to it or at the time, or I don't think
at the very beginning he tries like and because he had his theory, but I think he tested on the balcony.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean,
I just felt like it was really brave though of him. Like I felt like he really took up the mantle and like actually took care of his people in a time of need.
Well, because the fog itself, is avoiding him, but I don't think he really had any
concern for himself.
That the people that were like infected, that were fully infected, were gonna avoid him. At first, he didn't really know.
Exactly, and I love that he like didn't care anyway and like went out there to help
and
them.
He continues to do that, even though, because later on one of them says, "You're the Hollow Prince, he can see you now."
Yes, the Hollow Prince.
Yes. I have been very vocal about my distaste for Ree.
I know that's what I was going to bring up, but I'm glad we like got on the subject of Ree, because I was like, so how do you like him now, Melissa?
I do like him. And I think it goes back to that V.E. Schwab quote, like the tweet that I just mentioned, because I did not like him before because his whole thing was very selfish and I wasn't a fan of that.
Yeah.
But I marked it in my book because it was the moment when like I realized that I liked the direction that he was going in. Not that he had to go through all of that like trauma to get there. Like I still feel bad about that, and I felt bad about that before. That hasn't changed. But it's when he decides to. Let's see here. It's when he had decided to go to Oseron's castle near the very end, and he's starting to get like the things like the icicles going through him, and. Because Oseron still also keeps calling him hollow. He's calling him empty. He's like a shell, a vessel, all of these terrible things.
Yeah.
And okay, so I'm just going to read this passage. He had seen his mother run through, his father killed by 12 steel blades, and he could not save them. Their bodies were their own, their lives their own. But Ree's was not. It was not a weakness, he realized now, but a strength. He could suffer, but it could not break him. I am Ree Marish, he told himself as blood slicked the floor. I am the king of Arness, and I am unbreakable. And that's the moment when I think like that mantra changed, and I loved that, even though it was kind of pointless because he just becomes this, like, he becomes bait, unfortunately. Not that they wouldn't have gone there anyway, but seeing his connection with Kell not as a weakness but as a strength was huge, and I loved that moment for him.
Because he definitely resented Kell like in the last a little bit, like because he didn't get to choose, and so their relationship kind of had a lot of tension because of that, and this is when that kind of broke. But also I think it kind of does make sense that he goes out there, one, because Matt, his dad, did not. He's not doing it because his dad did, but I think he needed to, like, politically, I guess, like, make a move as king. And I think he knew that he'd be fine because his life is linked to Kell. And so it was almost like and I think it was mentioned too that pain, something about pain, right? Like there was like a theme about how like pain, there's purpose to pain. And so because that was really the only thing that he was going to be, like, he wasn't going to die.
Yeah. I think it made sense. I'm not saying it didn't make sense. I'm saying like narratively, it did nothing. Like narratively, what ends up happening is that he's stuck there. Like he like when his father made his move, he weakened Oseron. Oseron lost a shell. Oseron, like, the red came back for a little while, and his, like, his fog that like makes the fog body when he doesn't have like a human shell to fill is wispier than usual. So you know that like he dealt damage. But like Ree just like immediately gets captured.
I also love it because it's Ree and he just like wants to be
it's
the center of it.
Yeah. No,
like
I was
there.
Like that's just what that felt like to me though.
No, like, yeah, like it did. I agree because I don't think it plot wise really did a lot, but it did more for him. Like right, like his like character, like you said, that's when the thing broke. And I think it's also just makes sense that he would just like want everyone to be fighting around.
Yeah, it does.
I was hoping Alucard was gonna like kind of come swoop in.
Right.
Because he's
I
on the water.
Bad that they left him behind.
I know. I thought I liked that moment that he had too on that ship real quick where he was prepared to die and then realized he didn't want to die. That he had like like I was just like he literally made the decision to stay and die and then like no I don't want to like it's just like I want to go be with my Ree.
Yeah.
Okay, Taylin, you had a point, but hold it because we've got less than 3 minutes left.
Oh,
and then
shit, I
start
didn't
with
even
that.
see that.
Yeah, start with that so that way. Because the last episode had a weird transition. I'm trying to avoid that from now on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we want like a 5-minute break or?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Remember your point.
I'll write it down.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Okay, so Taylin, then just start off with that thing that you wrote down.
Absolutely. So what I was going to say is that something that I think, like, just in addition to all of the conversation that we've had about Ree so far, about his kind of growth as a character, I think kind of going back to the scene that you kind of noted, Melissa, where you felt like when he was, approaching Oseron and going to the castle, and kind of he had this turning point where he realized like that what he thought was this weakness was the strength. I think that was another just kind of moment, just to expand on that. I think it was a moment where we kind of see his character growth because Ree always wanted power. He was always jealous of Kell. He couldn't learn magic. He didn't have magic the way Kell had. And I think that it's like this turning point for him to recognize his own abilities and his strengths and see strength in that. Yeah. Even if it is still connected to Kell, like, his ability to kind of like not feel pain in the same way. I think it's still like a turning point where he's able to recognize his own strengths.
Yeah, he like uses this opportunity of being linked to Kell as a way to almost accept the fact that he's not magical. So it's almost like this magical element gives him the freedom to like be like, no, this is who I am. And I want to be fought over. Or whatever it is, like.
And like before this link happened, not having magic, like it did make him weaker. Yeah. Because it means that he can't fight magical threats. But he's up against, like, arguably the most powerful magical figure, singular figure. And
in the 4 Londons.
Yes. And, like, I don't want to say he holds his own because, again, like, he pretty immediately gets captured and, like, slightly tortured. But he doesn't die. Like, he shows this tyrant, this usurper that he can't kill him.
Yeah.
And so in some way he's also showing him like the extent of Kell's power.
Yeah.
Because Kell still has it. Even like Oseron even recognized it. He's like, it has my mark, but it doesn't answer to me anymore.
Yeah.
Because it was like from the stone, right? And so Kell has taken that. Kell has taken what is like this subversion of nature that Oseron was able to accomplish and made it his own, and they've separated it from Oseron's power. So it's like Kell and Ree as this bond represent almost the limit of Oseron's power.
So together they're like stronger.
Yes. Yeah.
That's really cool.
And I like the people are his power, even though like he didn't really get to like wields that. It was more like someone has to be king and someone has to have someone who will follow them. Mm-hmm. And that like is not like I can't speak for everyone here, but I don't want to be that person. So I feel like he got like he wants to be loved. He wants to be a good king. Mm-hmm. And someone had to fill that role, I guess. And you know, whereas like I kind of almost thought he was going to die. And Kell was going to be king.
Well,
I don't know why, but I just had I felt this kind of martyr, like,
yes, definitely
feeling from Rye, like, oh, he's like a little too like perfect and like cuddly. Like he's gonna.
I had to keep reminding myself that they
or
had
sacrificing.
That bond.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because of that.
Sacrificing. Yeah.
Yes.
Because of that. Yeah.
But I think that's what I loved so much was this like martyr aspect. I think he really became super brave.
Yeah. And so like the version of Ree at the very beginning, the one that I wasn't necessarily a fan of, is a Ree who's never had to deal with war, a threat to the kingdom, a threat to their palace and to their family ruling. Bless you, Bethany.
Okay. And
so that's why I didn't really like Ree, because all he has is this vain facade.
Yeah.
He even describes, I think actually it was Kell, because Kell comes back and once he finds out that the king and queen are dead, he has this moment where he's like, oh my God, like my brother is king now. The slut of Red London is suddenly having to rule the country. And I don't know how he's going to do it, but as we see, he stepped up really well. He stepped up immediately. He has the moment after the Veskins had tried to overthrow them, where he's talking to the magicians that had been there for the tournament. And he is really trying to channel his father. And you know that he is, because the Veskins get scared. They don't see the rakish prince anymore. They very clearly see the new king of Arness.
I also really like, is it Cora?
Yeah.
So I liked that it was kind of like a foil of like what Ree could have been using his like wiles.
Sexuality. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And she was kind of an interesting character, actually. She was a little bit multidimensional as well.
I like that she very explicitly states that too. She's like, we're like Ree. We don't have power. This is how we have to do it. The only difference is that you are alone and I have 6 other siblings in line for the throne. And then that's another moment where he's like, no, we're different because my brother is strong and your brother's dead. Mm-hmm. And I love, because that's when he's starting to get to that point where he realizes that it's not a weakness anymore. But yeah, I fully agree. The dynamic between him and Cora. And I was thinking back to book 2 and we meet her, because Ree makes that joke where he's like, that's the one you got to watch out for. And he's like, she's got hungry eyes. She's on the hunt. And she is, just not in the way that they think that she is.
That was funny. That was funny because Ree was the one that was warning Kell about it. And then Ree's the one that gets hunted.
Yeah.
Oops.
And missed that one.
In hindsight with the bath scene, I remember thinking like, that's a little weird, because she transitions immediately from trying to seduce him to like that. He talks about like the seduction is gone and the girlish charm was back. And I'm like, that's weird. Like, that's a little abrupt, don't you think? And then later it's because we find out it's all a facade. Mm-hmm. Like she's just fully aware of how childish she looks, and she uses it to her advantage.
Yeah.
She wields
respect the hustle.
Kind of kudos for that though. Like that's kind of why I kind of liked her.
Yeah.
A little.
Oh yeah, same.
Like I was like, oh, like she definitely knows what she's doing. Mm-hmm. Respect.
Oh yeah.
I do think that the female characters were all very interesting, but all and different, but always strong in a way.
Yeah.
In this series, which I liked. I liked that they were not all just like kind of copies of each other.
Yeah.
You know, in different settings and different like classes and worlds. I liked that there was a lot of variation.
And men as well.
Yeah.
Like Alucard and Kell are not the same person, or Holland.
At all.
Like they could have very easily been like the same. But
I was just going to say that, like, I love how quietly strong Amira, the queen, was. Because in book 2, she seems very weak and, like, demure and just quiet.
Yeah.
Oh, we got another cat.
Hello. Cat butt.
She
like,
has
I'm
her
here
own
for
ideas.
the back of the chair and the back of the chair only. But then in this book, we see more from Amira about, like, how she's constantly, like, it's not that she's quiet. It's not that she's not listening.
Yeah.
It's that she's listening to everything.
Yes.
I loved Amira.
Yes.
Because there is something about the silent fight. And she had that. Because there is strength in not, I guess, carving out freedom. Do you know what I mean? Like, she didn't have a lot of options. She chose Maxim, I think, right? I don't know. Like, they got together.
They fell in love with each other.
Yeah, they fell in love with each other, and then she realized. And then, like, I also kind of liked the theme of, like, when Rhee was born, she was just, like
terrified.
Fuck all of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Also super terrified, and it just, like, it was nice to kind of see that other side, that, like...
Yeah, I know. She was like...
My fucking shadow. You don't even know. Every morning. She's, like, on me every morning.
Aww.
It's kind of annoying. I love it. And also, like, get the fuck off me.
She literally looks like an owl perched on your shoulder right now.
Yes, she does.
It's incredible.
I like that Amira's strength is how much she loves Maxim and Rhee, and then Kell. Like, Maxim and Amira definitely handled it terribly in book 2, and I'm not excusing them for that at all. But in this book, we do see how much she loves them and how much Maxim loves them both equally. Especially because, like, you can tell, you know, that she never wanted to be queen. She very explicitly says that. And so when we hear about her and Maxim getting together, we know it's because she loved Maxim more than she didn't want to be king or didn't want to be queen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Master Tyrion has that moment where he recalls, like, the first time, and before, like, this whole battle, the only time he had ever seen her cry was in private a week before they announced she was pregnant. So she at that point knew she was pregnant. So she's crying, and we know it's not because she's scared of being pregnant. It's because she's scared of loving something that can break. Yeah. She's scared of, like, the fear that comes with motherhood and everything. And I love the depth that she had.
Yeah, which is that's really brave.
Yes.
To choose a life, because it's not like, oh, I had like, my baby is born and now I'm afraid it's going to, like, get sick and die. It's like, no, this is the one heir.
Yeah.
That is on, like, you know, the shadows had, like, attempted it on his life. Like, it is just, it's a different, she knew exactly what she was getting into.
Yes.
And she knew exactly the toll it would take on her. I also just like that there's a character that just it's really hard for her to communicate her feelings.
Yeah, same.
And that was shown really well with her, because you knew she was feeling a lot, because even when she was saying goodbye to Kell, and then I was like, oh fuck, she's gonna die. Like, I was like, God damn it. Like, because she was,
we can't
like,
have anything nice.
Yeah, we can't just, like, you can't just casually say goodbye. Like, and she couldn't express what she wanted to say to him. And I think Kell saw that and relented and was like, I, like, kind of finished her sentence for her, and like, accepted kind of the apology. I would say. Yeah,
like, they weren't at an apology at that point.
Yeah,
but she had asked, like, are we going to be okay? And he knew that she was asking about them, not about the country, not about like being royals, but about their relationship,
which was enough. Which was enough. Like, I liked that because, and he kind of recognized that about her, that she's not, like, it's really hard for her to bring these things up. So,
and then additionally, we know, even though we don't get to read the letters, we know that Maxim wrote a letter to Kell as well.
Yeah.
Because
that's right.
He knew that, like.
But Amira didn't get to read her letter.
I know. Shut up.
Ouch.
We get from like Amira's point of view, especially in that scene that you mentioned, Bethany, where she gives the little handkerchief that has KM on it. Because when they first got Kell, she wanted them to be brothers.
Yes.
And then eventually she had to like kind of pull back on that because she knew that Ree without magic needed a protector. And I feel like Maxim must have felt the same way, especially because they were raised so close to each other. And so it hurts doubly bad that he didn't get to have the same moment with Maxim that he had with Amira. There was a couple of moments of like, you could see the respect returning before Kell left for
there was never like a moment where it was like we got to see them really talk to each other. You could just reconcile. See, like, some of the chains had loosened on his like punishment, really, and that was the most that he got from Maxim before Maxim died, and that hurts.
And I don't think that they would ever really have the kind of father-son or mother-son relationship, really. I mean, maybe mother-son, because we got to see what she really wanted. Because there is that moment when Maxim is like, just like when he's walking out and he's like, one more night, like around the table with his family. And when he talks about Amira, he says Amira, and then he says Ree. And then when he mentions Kell, it's Kell in relation to Ree. So it's not Kell on his own and who he is. So, it's like their relationship was more about Ree's protector.
But he does, like, when he's walking down the stairs, that last, like, moment, and he's kind of listing off what he's going to miss, he mentions Kell on his own. And so it's almost like I agree.
Like an evolution of, like,
yes, exactly.
Shit.
But I think it's just at the very last moment where he realizes what Kell means to him. Like, Kell isn't just his son's protector. Kell was like a child that he raised. And he feels the weight of that as he's about to die.
I'm just glad we get that at the very least.
We get it. Kell doesn't. Sorry, Bethany, what did you say?
Nothing. I just said, and then he dies.
Then he dies.
I'm so glowing. I need to turn my other light on, my overhead.
Yeah, turn mine down. Now that, like, it's night has fallen and light is changing.
Conjuring light.
The world is changing, yes.
Yes.
We're conjuring light.
The world breathes in.
Is this a natural pause? I know we're recording. Am I allowed to grab my charger that I should have grabbed earlier?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Great.
Yeah. I was going to say something and I forgot what it was.
We should have said no just to see what her face did.
I felt like the last episode we like interrupted her a lot.
Yeah, I noticed.
And I've been trying to be like, oh, what do you think? Sometimes I don't know her as well as you do, but she's the kind of person that will just be like, oh, no, go ahead.
In this situation, yes.
Yeah.
In normal conversation,
I understand, because she's definitely like outnumbered because we're like, this is our thing or whatever.
Yeah, and in normal conversation, Taylin interrupts constantly.
Okay.
And so, I don't care if she can hear me. Yes, so Taylin will interrupt constantly in normal conversation. So that's why sometimes I have to force myself, because she's not doing that here, to like actually be like, Taylin.
Yes.
Go.
I know. It's hard. It's hard to do it on Zoom.
Yeah.
It's hard to interrupt us on Zoom.
It's very hard. It's very hard for me. It's very hard in class. It's hard for me because I just have a really short memory. And so if I can't say what's on my mind, I will forget about it.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, Taylin, what did you want to say? I'll be like,
gone now.
That's why you need to write stuff, girl.
Yes, I do need to write things down. And sometimes I do, if it's valuable. Sometimes I don't have anything valuable to say. I just like to respond.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Same.
Seriously,
We
you
all
sound
do
like,
that shit.
you sound like me. Like everything you're saying. Like
literally
everything you're saying. No, but like I feel like I'm particularly.
Oh, the memory thing, yes, but like just talking because I'm like, yes, repeating the same point.
Like I have words. I feel like I particularly struggle with these things as well. I have a really bad memory, and so I'm like, oh, it's here, I gotta say it, and then like and then I'm just like, I know there's something to say sometimes, and then I don't, but it's not like a.
You can feel it.
Cultivated point yet. Yes, I feel it before I know how to communicate it, and then I sound really dumb. So
my thing isn't necessarily that I'll forget what to say, but that like the moment will pass and I'll never have the chance to say it again. And so like when I'm doing it, like that's why I'm like I have to say it.
That's why you're so aggressive.
Yes, exactly.
It's the Aries.
Maybe the Aries moon. It probably 100% is.
I'm like
it definitely is.
I'm that student in class who's like constantly using the chat function because I can just say whatever the fuck I want, whenever I want. It's not interrupting anybody. Mm-hmm. I can respond like incessantly. And also like, I just have a hard time, like, again, Bethany, like what you're saying, like I have a hard time. I need to write my thoughts to form them. I can't, my brain is like full on, just like, external mode at all times. Like I need to be verbalizing or writing.
Yeah. And I think verbalizing is a big part of that. Like sometimes I'm like, I have to talk things through.
Absolutely. I'm like that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a Gemini.
Yeah.
Well, that's what, like all three of us will like I was realizing this as I was editing last episode is like, we start sentences and then we don't finish them, and then we finish them later.
Yeah.
Like, how have we all picked up this habit? It probably is from academia.
Yeah.
Like, it just luck of the draw.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I real quick though, I have a really cringy memory that always comes up when I'm having a particularly fun bad day. In the class that you got booted out of, what was it? The medical
humanities one, actually.
The body and society.
Yeah.
In early modern period. It was a good class, but I had a moment where I was like, we were talking about like female friendships, aka like gay relationships, and how like that was like portrayed. And I was like, oh, I just read an article. Like I literally opened my mouth and said, I read an article called this. Awkward silence because I couldn't remember how to I couldn't think of how to express and connect this article with what was happening in the room.
Yeah.
And I was like, yep.
Been there.
Fuck me.
Oh God.
Everyone thinks I'm an idiot.
No. I think that professor's an idiot.
I think it's just an American thing. We just have to get.
Yeah.
The professor was nice.
Start talking. We just love the sound of our own voices.
We do.
Hence a podcast.
Yes. Hence.
I think this would all be a really good clip.
Yes.
No, so I got booted because... Actually, not because... I don't know why I specifically got booted, but they had overbooked the class. And so I literally, I went to the first day. I
remember you.
I was really excited for that class specifically. So
I don't mean that in a mean way, but I remember you.
I only went to the one class. So, I mean, it makes sense. I'd done all the homework already for the first 2 weeks for that one because it was all really interesting stuff. And then the Friday after classes started, I went on to what was it called? Keats. And suddenly that class was gone and they throw me into one of my secondary choices. And so I emailed them and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I literally I emailed the registrars and I was like, that's bullshit. And they were like, well, sorry, there's nothing we can do about it. And I was like, I bought all of the books for this class. I had to hound Amazon to give me refunds because thankfully they were like ebooks, so they just like took them off my Kindle and everything. But I was so angry.
It was
no wonder you're so like this in tandem with everything else. Yeah, that would make me bitter too.
Yeah, that's not a good like start, you know.
No,
get booted from a class.
Not my fault that you overbooked the class.
Yeah. Also, who's gonna stop you from just showing up?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, these are pre-COVID times. You can just drop by.
The teacher, technically, because she, at the very first class, she said, one or two of you are probably going to be dropped from the class because there's too many people in here. And only I got dropped.
That is so uncool.
Yep.
Americans being discriminated against.
I know.
I was being oppressed.
Not to make you feel any worse, but it was just like such a cool class, and I think you would have loved it.
Well, because that was the second semester, right?
It was the first. I remember it was like the first class I ever went to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember talking to you and Ian, and I was like, give me like the reading, because I was really excited for that class.
Was Ian in
so you
guys? Catherine and George were.
I remember you two like talking to you two about it. I don't remember if he was in the class.
I know Emma. Everyone was in the class. Everyone was in that class.
Like, met Emma.
Yeah, like Emma, Abby. I honestly can't remember. I think Ian was. Yes, Ian was. Everyone was in that class.
I know.
Catherine, George. Anyway.
I think it was just the second years who weren't the like part-time students.
Yeah.
And so they kind of all assumed that I was also part-time because I wasn't in that class. And I was like, no, I just got kicked out of it. So
that sucks.
Yeah.
It was a cool class though. I actually really liked the teacher.
Relevant to your dissertation.
Yes.
I know.
Because I was literally giving her like the readings that we had. Because she was talking about like the Nature's Body, that one by like Schwartz or whatever, Schubert. Anyway. Yep. Okay.
Wouldn't that have been nice? Pew pew.
Do we have a point of, or do we want to do like last thoughts or something? Like
I think
kind
we
of
can
go
break
into
into
that.
last thoughts.
Cool.
I liked that. I think we can break into last thoughts. That sounded very teacherly.
Thank you.
All right, last thoughts. Anybody? Everybody?
I really like this one. I do agree, Taylin, that the first one was very good. Very strong first book for a series, for like a trilogy. But I think I like this one more because like she breaks those mantras the way that she does. We see Holland become this hero. He breaks through the bullshit that life had dealt him and finds real friends, and then still recognizes that his end has come. Like, he's the one who saves Lila. He's the one who like finds her and then heals her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I love his arc. I love the way his story progressed. And even though that I hate that he's dead, I love how good it was for him.
I love that he lived.
Yes. Yes.
He really did. He actually had a strong life. And I hate to say purpose, but because he didn't really seem to enjoy any minute of it. But there was a really strong message about that in the first book about like, oh, are you surviving? Are you living? Are you just trying not to die? Are you just trying to be safe? And like Holland was none of those things. Like he was surviving, but he was also fighting, which in turn was living, but also wasn't living. So it's like, how do you, And so he was definitely like the backbone of the book, of the series.
Yeah.
But I guess my last thoughts was, I agree. I loved the first book was very like chop. Like it was very like, I, in hindsight, now that I've read all three of them, this one is my favorite, The Conjuring of Light, because it answered everything.
Yeah.
and it fleshed it out, and it gave me what I think I was craving a little bit in the first book. The first book was like a really fun, like, jaunt into like the world. And then the second book was like let's like get a little closer. And then the third book was like, let's bring it all home. And I think it just really, it answered all the questions. Like, it fleshed out all the characters, like, past. And then it, like you said, it broke the mantras, and it just really, all of the characters kind of had their moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I think consistently throughout all three of the books that, like, V.E. Schwab's strength really is adventure, I think, and just kind of like action scenes. And I think really portraying those in a way that are vivid and exciting for me as a reader to kind of quickly like be flipping through the pages, like, and on the edge of my bed. All right. Like, you know, like I want to get to the next part. I want to see what happens to these characters. And I think that that's a testament to like, my investment in the characters, because I think that's also what V.E. Schwab is very strong at doing, is giving us like really great characters to love or hate. And, and seeing what happens to them, like, is, you know, I think that's definitely the strength of this last book. And even if it can be like, you know, a little Disney sometimes with the endings, I do think that like, I'm happy with the ending, and I'm happy with like how everyone kind of ended. I think, you know, there was a lot of death, but like, I don't think, even though some of the deaths seemed like, I wish there could have been more purpose, I don't think that any of them were like, not important or not like, didn't give me more emotion. At least in the sense of like this world and this story. And so I loved all of the world making. I love where she brought us. I love Lila still as a character, even though she is like miraculous at everything she does. I mean, I think for me, like at the time of my life when I was reading this book series, I like had just started my first year in the PhD. I had just kind of realized that these YA novels even existed. And so I think it was like, I think even though there could be like some faults that this book has, I think that it really served a wonderful purpose for me to kind of like enter back into this world and just kind of like have characters I can relate to. I would love to maybe like in the next series, like see a little bit more about Lila's childhood.
Yes.
You know, how we have like these flashbacks, like, it
would be cool to meet
see her
some
struggle.
Of the, yeah.
It
would be
like,
cool for her.
She becomes.
Like, there's the ending scene where he's like, do you want to stay for a little while in Grey London? And I kind of wanted them to.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of wanted Kell to get to know her a little bit more in that way. And so maybe there's like some relationships in her past that might come.
That would be so great.
I'd
love to like, see her struggle, because she is so incredible. But of course she did kind of come from this like street rat like background. And so I think like it would be really powerful to know more about her. I think it would give like her even more of this, like more beauty to her strength and more believability. And I think, but I think it was something that I really like appreciated about coming back to YA, was seeing how strong like female characters could really be.
Yeah.
That was something I really loved.
Well, yes. Sorry. Yes, it sounded like I was going to disagree. I fully agree. No. We don't really get a lot of backstory on Lila, because we get like the flashbacks from Holland, where we get some of his like backstory before he met Kell and everything. And then we get backstory with Ree. And so by proxy of that, we get stuff on Kell. Yes. Because they were raised together and a lot of their antics were done together. But then we don't get a lot on Lila. We even get stuff on Alucard on his own, but we don't know anything about Lila other than the fact that she doesn't know how she lost her eye, which, given that like Grey London is aggressively evangelical. I would not be surprised if it was taken out because of like 18th century demons or something like that. We know that her dad tried to sell her and that her mom died when she was young, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then we vaguely know that like Baron had kind of been there for many years of her life.
Yeah.
But we don't know how or when. We don't know how they met. We don't know if she was even like born in London and raised in London. We just know she ends up there.
Like, I want the first chapter of the next series to be like her as like an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Like having
sold.
Like
a
getting
little
sold.
Oliver Twist character.
Yeah. Or like I imagine her maybe not like maybe seeing death, because she is a killer. Like she kills.
Oh yeah.
A lot. And so I feel like she probably saw that a lot at a young age, and probably started at a young age. So kind of giving us a better picture of why she's so gritty. Like,
Agreed.
why is she a street rat?
I like, because you both kind of mentioned this, but I like how they do marry. Like Schwab marries her like aggressive character development with adventure in this one. Like they're so tied together, and I love that about this book.
Yeah.
I think that's why this is my favorite book.
Yeah. Okay, Melissa. Alucard, Holland. Probably not Rhee or Kell.
Is this a fuck, marry, kill?
Yeah. Okay. All 4.
Oh my God.
I'm glad that elicited such a reaction from everyone.
I'm going to kill Rhee. I'm sorry, Rhee. I'm going to... I'm gonna fuck Holland and Alucard at the same time, and then marry Kell. And the reason I'm gonna marry Kell instead of marry Holland, even though we both know that I'm like a simp for Holland, is because Kell is much better wifey material. Simple as that.
You would marry Kell?
Yeah, wifey material. Like he's basically made out of it. Like there's no way, because Holland, as much as I love his damaged goods stuff, like I've dated enough of those in real life to know that I do not want to marry them.
Yeah.
So, what about you?
Go, Taylin.
Okay. I know I'm gonna kill Holland because as I've already like intimated.
You're just doing that because I killed Rhee.
No. I'm just not into. He was fated to die anyway. Okay, I know it's sad, but it's true.
Whatever.
Oh man, he grew so much, and I still would kill him. I think. Wow. I think I'm gonna fuck Kell because it seems like he's got some good techniques. And then I'm gonna marry Alucard and Rhee because I feel like it would be
that would be fun.
Such a fun like shit show. Like I just want to sit back and kind of watch it all happen. Like Alucard because I would marry him first. He'd be my number one choice because like that style. Like all about it. He's got the cat, he's got the earring and the big hat. I'm like, okay, I'm sold. But I do love Rhee's little penchant for drama. So
yeah.
I want to watch that happen.
Okay, so I know I didn't mention Lila, but
that list, throw in for yourself.
You got to.
I forgot, but I realized I didn't want to kill any of the guys.
Terrible.
I know, but wouldn't it be fun? No, I'm.
Yeah.
I feel like if anyone deserves it, like she's kind of a killer. She's kind of a thief.
Fair.
She's kind of arrogant. I respect her, but that doesn't mean it's any less honorable of a kill, right?
Yeah.
Okay, real quick, we've got less than a minute, so we're gonna have to call back and finish this up.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, real quick.
Yep.
I'll just start. Nice
fucking
photo.
picture looking like Keats.
And that's kind of what I expect Lila to look like too.
That's fair. I think that's what she bases her entire look off of.
Yeah.
I'm sure she can hear us right now too.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
We were like, ooh, look at that picture.
I know. I love that. You guys are literally trying to make me cry by comparing me to Keats right now.
And Lila.
Yeah, I was like,
also, I love that you were talking to us.
Expected Lila looked like.
Camera off, mic off, talking to herself.
I was having a hard time. I kept clicking unmute and it wouldn't unmute.
Okay. Bethany.
Okay. I have already expressed this to Melissa that I want an a la carte Kell sandwich.
Yum.
But I also would want to marry Kell.
Oh,
I'm a Kell baby.
You are a Kell baby.
I'll just have Holland to myself then.
Yeah.
And just like Lila can
it's my
sail
dream.
away.
I'm gonna marry an old man.
Yeah.
And then take all of his money when he dies.
Or power. Whichever one comes first.
Whichever.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whatever order.
All right. I'm kind of sad that one's over.
I know. That was such a nice...
It was a fun one.
I have not wanted to go to London harder.
Yes.
Like, I have just been like, can we go back? Can we just, like, go back?
Same. Looking at the pictures of, like, Athens this week, too. Mm-hmm. Like, while we've been getting stuff together, I'm like, I want to go back so bad.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to plan a little trippy soon, huh?
Oh, yeah.
For the podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll write it off.
Yeah.
When we start making money.
Yeah, I know. Like once I'm not poor.
Yeah.
Same.
All right. But that's it for us tonight.
That's it. That's the end of the trilogy. Honestly, also the end of kind of the season. We do have one more episode where we're going to do top 5s of like all of the things, right?
Yes, all of the things.
Now I feel like I have a better idea of what that is after having read this series. Like, I'm just like, ooh.
I'm ready.
Now that I know who Kell is and Alucard and...
We'll do like favorite threesome pairings.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Yes.
Definitely going to tune in for that.
Yeah.
Good.
It'll be fun. Yeah, and then we'll be back next season.
Yeah, I think we're only taking like a month off.
Yeah.
It's just
to regroup.
This is a new thing for us, and I think we got off to a good start. We just want to see where we go from here now.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
cool. Well, meanwhile, you can find us at In Bed with Books Pod on Instagram, also on YouTube, In Bed with Books Podcast. You can see all of the videos. We post more content on there, like stuff that's not really edited and things. Yeah, so definitely subscribe on there. And
because Instagram has like time limits and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, until next week.
Yeah.
Happy reading.
Happy reading.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, and thank you, Taylin, for being here.
Of course. Cheers.
Oh yeah.
You forgot
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, she's just like watching us close. Yes, it's been really fun.
Thank you guys.
Honestly, having like a third person too, and just like also someone who just like really loves these books and has already like created a relationship with them. I understand that.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun for me too. To rediscover my love of just talking about books in a low stakes way.
Yeah.
Yes. You're not wrong here.
Yeah.
It's an incredible feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of what we are kind of moving into is like how to be accessible. A safe like space. We're recovering academics moving into being accessible academics. Like
I love that for you guys.
Like we don't want to like
AA
too stuffy, you know?
That hasn't been taken yet.
Nice.
Definitely doesn't have any other connotations.
No.
AA. We are also going to be doing like Friday episodes I think I've mentioned this to you, Taylin, and so we do want you to be on there for some of those, if you're available. But also, one of the things that we're doing in October is, give me just a moment here.
The Frankenstein things?
We're doing Frankenstein.
Yes,
so
yes.
That's going to be an actual podcast episode, which I'm excited about.
An actual full podcast episode. We are planning to record that the very beginning of November. You're
gonna record the beginning of November?
Yeah. So we just have to record it before the end of November.
Okay. So it honestly could be any time. I mean,
exactly.
Really, I'd like to read it. That's going to be like the next book I read because I just wanna. So
yeah,
definitely. So you're not going to record in October?
No.
Okay.
October. The parts of October are when we're planning to take a break.
Great.
If it works easier for you time-wise, then we can definitely record in October.
I cannot do October. I'm busy all October. November I can do.
Perfect.
Cool. Okay. That works out.
And
that'll be so fun.
Immediately after I've just taught it. So it'll be super fresh in my head.
Yeah. If anything, like you can just come in with that stuff, so you don't have to plan extensively. We're just gonna do it like we did this time. And
I'm also thinking of writing my essay on Frankenstein. So
yes,
and it's due we have an essay due in October.
If you'd like to turn part of that into a blog, a shorter version for our website, you are perfectly welcome to.
Potentially.
We'll just take the abstract.
We could just take the abstract as that and then add another 500 words and you're good.
There you go. Yeah. I'm supposed to connect I don't know, Rousseau or something. So
I'll have fun with that.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about that because I read a lot of Rousseau.
I only have just read, it's funny because I quoted him in my dissertation. And I didn't read them at all. I just quoted. I just found a quote. I was like, oh yeah.
That's fun.
This will work.
I read a little bit. I mean, okay. I read an article about him.
There you go.
That's what I mean. I didn't actually read a Rousseau book.
He's actually super awesome and accessible.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, he's really fun. He's an angry bitch. He's
I support that.
I'm so mad.
I think it was when we had our coffee with Stacy the other day. I'm going to distract you from your homework slightly longer, Taylin. Okay. But I also want to talk to you about this, Bethany, is we should have people submit written work. That's why I texted you and all I said was a literary journal. It was while we were at this coffee and I didn't want to forget.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember something like that being I don't know what that means, but sure. I have always wanted to do that. That is what I wanted Wine and More to be.
Yes, I think we could turn this into that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially because we've got
open
the product.
all the peoples in the departments.
Yes.
I mean, most of them, not most because I haven't seen very many, but a good majority already know about the podcast because I've told them. So
yes. Plus we've got that picture hanging in.
Yeah.
So they all saw it at the party.
Propaganda.
Yeah. Yes, we do have our propaganda. Because especially since we're breaking into classics and the canon and everything, I would be down to have your people call our people.
Love it.
Cool.
I just want to put that into the ether.
All the collabs.
Yes.
Collabs.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Love you guys.
Yes.
I love you too.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, this was so fun.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Do you want to say
goodbye? Thank you for suggesting this.
Yeah,
this series. Yeah.
Kitty.
Oh my gosh.
Touch his paw for me. Oh.
Oh, he's so out.
Yeah.
But his tail is still. Oh, Fran.
I know.
Oh my god.
He's happiest when he's asleep.
Yes, it's true.
Okay.
In bed with cats.
Yes, in bed with cats.
I approve.
Message approved by us. Okay. Bethany, I got that caption in. I will get the reel done tonight. We're all
lovely.
Good.
Beautiful.
We're set. All right.
Great work, you guys. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.